You think you've got my number figured out? A motive born in drought and brevity. And if I'm not the soul of your design, I blatantly decline your remedy. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. Wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. Don't box I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome, everybody. How's it going, folks? John, Lithium, Kirkenstein's Monster, Echo Resto Dragon. Welcome, everybody. Today is going to be a bit of a short stream, folks, so I apologize. We're going to try to run through everything. I got to get out of here more or less on time, or early. The video keeps freezing. Yeah, I saw some frames were dropping. Hopefully, the issue has been resolved. Reading the Buffalo Hunter right now, it's so good, but it pisses me off so bad. I think I understand Stephen Graham's Jones' reason for writing it. Such a good excuse to slaughter all those pioneer buffalo murderers, literal mountains of buffalo skulls. Yeah, yeah, that's a thing that happened. That's a thing that happened. In fact, it was an attempt to exterminate the native indigenous population by starving them. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate all of you folks hanging out today. People suck, indeed. Just the usual disclaimers, folks. If you want to support the channel directly, there are many different ways of doing so. Check out the merch store. ! Tip. Do the Substack. Join the Discord, folks. There's movie events. And of course, check out my show on This Space Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesdays. Thank you all for being here. Let's get started, folks. Work has already made me a little bit late as it is. Should we do this one? I think we should probably do this one, honestly.
All right. It's been a while since we heard from Brett Weinstein. He apparently is still allowed to do his show, which is nice that they're allowing him to do that. And he's still doing it with his wife, Heather Hying. They seem to have run out of politics to talk about. So they're talking about the Telepathy Tapes, which is a podcast. And here is his little piece on this.
And final question, comment, recommendation is, I know you guys will probably think it's nuts, but please suspend your disbelief and check out the Telepathy Tapes podcast. I really have to start from the beginning, though. There's stuff about animals in there, and I found it profoundly inspiring, thinking about how it might shine a light on how animals really communicate. It is ostensibly about communities of nonverbal autistic kids communicating, and it's amazing. I will say that I've had a couple of people recommend this hesitantly to me, saying, I was kind of blown away, but I'm not sure what you will think. And I've had a couple of people saying, I think you actually need to listen to it. I think you may find some very surprising things there. So I have not, but I do intend to listen to this. It's like a 5-7 part something limited podcast series.
I've had the same experience. Lots of people have mentioned it. I have a fear, which is there is a way that stories masquerade as observations. And, let's take the UFO story. What are you going to do with all of these people who have observed the incredible? And what are you going to do with all of these videos that appear to be inexplicable? And the answer is, what I now have is a cryptic social claim that there are people who have these observations and that these videos are what they appear to be. And if somebody were to run a psyop
I love
in which
how
they tried
like
to
she's
take,
they're so in touch with
So again, I have no idea what he's talking about at this point, because it sounds like he's just rambling.
each other, and so no, of course I see where you're going here.
It's like
with it.
telepathy.
Yeah, it's like telepathy between the two of them.
This podcast, by the way, is about like animals and like autistic children having some kind of ability to implant thoughts into other people's brains. And I would just say it's hogwash for anybody wondering what my take.
What does stories? Oh, sorry. Go on.
Oh no, I was done. I was just saying
Yeah,
it's
but what does
pseudoscience.
stories masquerading as observations mean? I'm still.
I think he's saying that
It's a whole lot of nothing. It's just gobbledygook, as you would say. Moenep, welcome.
it is basically where you are pretending what you're doing is observing, but in fact you are injecting, you're projecting onto the observations.
Gotcha. Which he would never do.
For instance, eyewitness testimony on things like UFOs is pretty unreliable because it's hard for the layperson to know how fast things are traveling in the sky and how big they are without a frame of reference, that sort of thing.
But what he's also suggesting is that it's possible to portray that you're seeing certain things aligning and then attribute some other narrative to that, because he often finds himself in situations where certain things are happening and it's clearly an attempt to influence him in certain ways.
Psyop on him.
Very often that happens.
That's so weird.
More than you would think.
Also, I just point out the dung beetle pushing a pile of shit in the foreground of this.
let's take the UFO story. What are you going to do with all of these?
Yeah, the dung beetle here really makes the segment. I don't know, man. I've seen some weird shit.
People who have observed the incredible, and what are you going to do with all of these videos that appear to be inexplicable? And the answer is, what I now have is a cryptic social claim that there are people who have these observations and that these videos are what they appear to be. And if somebody were to run a psyop in which they tried to take analytically careful people and lure them into unproductive behavior, one of the things that you would do is you would pass that through a social channel where something masquerades as an observation that isn't anything of the sort. So here's the problem. I'm sure these telepathy tapes are fascinating. What I don't know what to do with is if these telepathy tapes suggest that everything I think is true about the universe is wrong, does that mean that everything that I think about the universe is wrong? Or does that mean somebody would like me to do that because, I've been a pain in the ass? Where am I going to end up?
Okay, now wait a second. Do you
So there's some kind of conspiracy to discredit Brett Weinstein. Is that what's happening? I actually keep a record of dates, time, and direction and details of what I've seen. Not saying it's aliens, but it's weird to have some on video too, so I know I'm not insane. Oh, I'm sure. It's just a matter of explaining what you're seeing, right? But that's he's basically now alleging there's some kind of conspiracy to discredit him. I was excited about that because I had a hard time getting any good footage, so it just made me feel crazy.
understand what's going on, Emma?
But you just have to do it in a very, very calm,
I'm
monotone
going
voice.
to explain to you what's happening.
So I think you're a serious person.
The telepathy tapes I'm not suggesting I know this as a fact, have been produced specifically to distract Brett Weinstein from finding other truths that maybe some people are afraid that he's going to find.
Yeah, of course.
When an analytically careful person like me falls hook, line, and sinker for a bunch of obvious bullshit, that's the CIA doing that.
There are other, Matt, I know you're,
They're animals in the
I
forest.
know
I can
you're
hear
trying
them.
to be jocular, but there are other entities that might have interest in throwing Brett off the trail.
Off the scent.
Oh.
Yeah.
He was over.
Aliens?
He was over the target.
Well,
He was over the target.
let's go back. It is fascinating to have her just nodding along, like
Oh, yeah.
as if like it's amazing, frankly, to me that he's allowed to do this podcast because there's so much truth that could possibly spill out at any time that many people don't want to be revealed.
Put their neck out like that.
Yeah. It's about the idea that nonverbal autistic children are telepathic. Yes. Well, the Brett Weinstein segment is about that.
Need to do that because,
Yep.
I've been a pain in the ass. So, where am I going to end up?
Bum,
if
bum, bum.
these telepathy tapes really upend everything I think I know? And the answer is, well, I'm in a position of having to uncomfortably question what they are.
Well, I don't think I don't. That's not my sense of what they're like. I have read some analysis.
Why can't you also just say, oh, wait, okay, so you're positing to me that these tapes could basically be a nefarious plot to disabuse you of the fact that you have a real sense of what's going on and you don't want to do that. Or alternatively, what you're saying is that you refuse to expose yourself to something that may make you question what you're on regardless. Like, he's both saying that it could be a plot or saying that, like, I have my whole system of delusions and I'd hate to run into something that might say, like, hey, wait a second.
Like a Rumspringer
Maybe
anxiety.
exactly. Maybe you're not correct. And she just like,
yeah.
no,
Interesting.
course.
I don't, sweetheart. No, I don't think that show is like that. Aside from all the psychotic things you just said about yourself.
That you're 5 episodes away from a podcast from a total psychic breakdown.
I just have to say, I'm disappointed in this show. I think science is always about asking all of the questions, including
Nope.
about the telepathy tapes.
You got to ask who wants yourself to ask those questions.
right?
Be the man.
Or
There's a lot more questions, Emma, that you don't realize are out there.
could the telepathy be making Brett ask questions that would be the psychological operation? We don't even know.
Questions.
Realize are out.
We don't already gotten to Brett.
These are one of those questions I
That's
don't want you to
that,
answer.
that's one of the
Please don't
questions.
ask those
Please
questions.
don't ask. Okay, let's see what she.
That's an observation.
True. It's so frustrating, but not surprising that the most vulnerable people have other people project weird stuff onto them. They can't just be smart, perceptive people. They have to be, quote, magical. Yep. That's right.
Observation that's masquerading as a story.
Uncomfortably question what they are.
Well, I don't think I don't. That's not my sense of what they're like. I have read some analysis of the stories represented there that suggest that people who know some of the kids see things somewhat differently from how it's presented. I have not previously.
As in, they're not psychics. Okay.
By the way, this is a huge fight between them, I think. I think this is what a big fight sounds like.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, this is a throwdown.
Well, I mean, she definitely just basically said, I'm not even going to address all the insanity you just said. I'm going to just give a basic critique of the podcast that I haven't listened to.
The psychic lifesaver you were asking for.
As is in this question, any mention of animals, of non-human animals being discussed. And I think that's fascinating. And
Yep.
I do think,
They're just Job or just me. I think I think OBS is having a day. Either that or it's, well, no, it can't be the internet. I've got full Wi-Fi. Yeah, OBS is having one of those days. Ground level news, welcome. It's also part of the conspiracy against Brett Weinstein. Yep.
What we understand about the world is incomplete, for sure. And I'm always interested to learn more about those things that I don't.
Can I ask
yet know.
one question that occurs to me to ask? Is it possible that they're in like either an attic or a basement hiding from like enemy soldiers that are in the house?
gang
And they've got to
stalkers?
do the podcast, but not be so loud that the people looking for us will find us.
Would you hide them?
That's like they're.
bunker right
It's
now.
like if Anne Frank was forced to do a podcast as the house was being searched.
Inglorious Bastard.
Yeah, it's like they've got to absolutely do the podcast.
But that's what it's like being an anti-vaxxer.
I
It's
mean-
basically like being a Jewish person. in
Their
the
whole,
Holocaust.
their whole demeanor
That's what
is
Corona was
like,
saying.
we have to be quiet while we do this podcast.
I know, you can hear her
Just in
every
case
swallow.
Someone hears us. They have definitely processed the mics so that their voices are somewhere down around
The Howard
here.
Stern.
Yeah,
ASMR.
exactly. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, and you could probably do that with a treated room. And of course, the microphones that they're using are probably, or would have to be, condenser mics. And that's how you would do it, because you can, the sensitivity of those mics are probably really high. Yep, that's right, Kirkenstein. I have heard that the internet in general has been having some issues. Gotcha. Well, hopefully it won't be too much. Hopefully it won't be too much.
I have had them highly recommended by someone who I trust in many regards, but who says obviously they're true. And I think that is not a good starting point to get someone who finds skepticism a more valuable trait than either faith or cynicism to get them to embark on this. So, you know, I haven't listened, even though they've been out for like months now,
Why
a
are
year
you
maybe,
screaming at me?
in part because there is so much baggage associated with them. But I don't think the risk is like, what if they reveal that the world is not as it seems? Like, I don't think that's where it's going to end up.
Don't know. I
Yeah.
worry about a lot of the
He's
stories.
so upset that she totally ignored
My lawyer will be in
everything
touch.
you said.
It's melodrama.
You didn't address what I was saying about the forces that were trying to throw me off the trail.
Brett, I think you can handle a goddamn podcast.
You don't
Okay?
seem to realize that I'm the
You
center
don't-
of the universe.
I want that one more time.
Brett,
Sorry.
Brett,
Maybe-
you don't have the mental.
Maybe his wife is part of that plan. Have you thought about that?
Flexibility to listen to 5 episodes of a podcast without your entire world come crashing down.
Adds interstitially play.
Heather, I think if you disagree with me in the way you've been and your tone, I think it's probably because you're part of this innate plan to keep intellectuals such as myself from trying to find the truth. And I think that maybe we should reconsider what we are doing here, or what you are doing here.
Well, it's a podcast about.
Ladybug, welcome. Dude reminds me of the Food Chick podcast on from SNL. Sweaty balls.
Autistic children, and you're afraid that your entire worldview is going to change overnight. I don't know
You need to talk to
how
somebody.
to.
Let's get that one more time.
Feel that the world is not as it seems. Like I don't think that's where it's going to end up.
I worry about a lot of the stories that appear to change everything that we are now effectively socially expected to accept. And
I'm sorry, like this guy is just so delusional. This guy is not even in the same, like he has left the solar system. Okay, at this point, he has left the solar system at this point.
Maybe it's time for
Reserve
the
the right
music
not to
to
process
run.
it.
Now, let's.
It looks like there's a waiter off frame. Like, so do you want drinks?
It's gonna eat, or I mean, are you waiting for somebody else in your party? we had two different people at the exact same time on the IM go. Cult Dog, batshit crazy ASMR. Dave Rubin's lab coat, Brett Weinstein podcast can be described as crackpot ASMR.
Dave Rubin's lab coat. Is it just me or she's super spooky? Both of them are, honestly, because like I know we're making fun of them. I know we're making fun of them, but I mean like the stuff that they've helped facilitate and the ideology that they've helped facilitate is really bad. They do have a responsibility in all of this anti-vax stuff, anti-science stuff, and also to an extent, as far as politics go, to advance fascism. Nadia, welcome. I'm trying to catch up from 20 minutes behind. Oh, it's okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's OBS. It's 100% OBS Echo Rest of Dragon, because everything else is working for me. My Spotify is working. Everything else is working for me. I'm on Discord. Oh wait, is Discord on? I don't know. But everything seems to be working for me. So I think it's OBS that just keeps dropping the stream. If if the stream drops, then just hit refresh, because it just blips. It's not very long, but it blips and then it comes back online. YouTube is working. Okay, so is it OBS or is it just Twitch? I'm not sure. Well, no, actually it has to be OBS. Maybe OBS pushing out to Twitch is having issues, but OBS pushing out to YouTube is not having that issue. Maybe or rather maybe it's not even OBS, maybe it's Restream who's simultaneously streaming. I don't know. In either case, it's either OBS or the client Restream. I'm not sure. In any case, it's not you guys. It's not the internet. At least here, I don't think. There does seem to be Wi-Fi here, or maybe it is. I don't know. It used to be that New Agers were more left-leaning. Yeah, but these people, no, for sure. These guys, it's hard to say if that's what these guys even are, right? Because, like, at the end of the day, they just end up supporting, they're just crackpot, right-wing propagandists, right? Soul Life, welcome. Kirkenstein's The Delicious Dish, that's the name of the SNL skit. Gotcha. I had internet outages at work today. Okay, so it's Yeah, John Lithium was saying there's some kind of funny stuff going around, just in general with the internet. Who knows? Maybe this is part of that. In any case, we soldier on.
Oh my God.
Brett, I would like to believe that you're not.
Oh, we still have the Dark Horse logo.
Logo, we're
up
giving
there.
them real advertising.
We've got
here.
to be very careful about that.
Please don't scream at me. Please stop.
Brett is 20 minutes of pseudoscience away from a complete psychic meltdown.
Oh my God.
I'm digging the speed boost from YouTube. Nice. I do like the fact that you can speed up YouTube videos as much as you want. It does help when I'm at work.
Well, I just don't like to have to listen to things that purportedly will tell me something about the existence that is different than I have imagined it. I don't have the ability to
As a scientist.
Completely,
address that.
completely deconstructs my entire thought process.
Don't want any new information to hit my brain, particularly if it might be information that is wrong, but I would believe it.
Traps abound.
Traps abound. That is,
They just got off camera and
wait,
screamed.
Bidet
at the
Drying
pillows.
Fans, did you cover Trump walking on the roof of the White House?
Yeah, I saw that.
Is that real?
Who cares? Yeah.
You know,
He's
when
expecting the ballroom that he's building or something.
When I
Probably.
first-
Where he was lost.
when I first read that,
Force speed is double plus good as good as 2 times speed. Yeah, there you go. I understand that. That's speaking my language. Since I live in the Midwest, it's always easy to blame the internet. I don't understand how the Weinstein brothers don't lend any credence by anyone. Oh no, they definitely shouldn't. Like you're supposed to immediately like laugh at how delusional these people are. 100%.
I thought it was a joke about. I thought I was just about to ask somebody, like somebody had said that earlier, like, are you suggesting that Trump's on the roof of the White House or something? And that was a joke told in Capricorn 1. Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Oh, you never saw that? Starred OJ. And a guy's climbing up. It's a conspiracy theory thing about the whole man on the moon was faked. And one of the astronauts escapes. Or they escape, and he's climbing up a hill, and he's telling this whole story to himself because he's getting blurry about how he called his brother, and the brother just blurted out. He said, "How's my cat?" And he just said, "Oh, the cat died." And he said, "Like, you don't do that. You come up with a story. You say I was feeding the cat, and it went out the window, and then it climbed up the side, and then it climbed up onto the roof, and it fell off, and
Yeah.
that's how you tell your cat died." And he said, "How's mom?" "Well, I was feeding." And I thought that was like somebody's way of trying to suggest aspirational qualities when we were talking about Trump and his medical
Right.
situation,
Right.
and people were being circumspect.
Right.
He's up on the roof. I mean, who cares? Why do we care?
It's just weird, but I don't.
I would say
Why are
why
you
I
on the
care, but I
roof?
think it would be illegal.
President,
Yeah.
what are you doing up there?
Wait, is this real?
Come down and talk to us. What are you building?
Wait, is this real? Like, what are you doing on the roof, Mr. President?
Oh, they're building, incidentally. Turn this on.
Jesus, man. The audio scuffed. Scuffed audio. My goodness. Wolfglen, welcome, not AI.
Off, I don't care. After paving the Rose Garden over,
Yeah.
literally paving the Rose Garden over, they're building a massive ballroom
Yeah.
that, as far as I can tell from the depictions, see if you can put that up there, as far as I can tell, are like 3/4 of the size. The ballroom is like 3/4 the size of the actual White House.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I'm not sentimental about this kind of thing, but like,
Yeah. Your tax dollars at work, folks. Efficiency. The epitome of efficiency. Yes, this is real. Jesus Christ.
This is a bit of a desecration, as Trump would say.
The ballroom is going to
Not AI.
fundamentally change the look of the White House.
I just we are really on the nose with the Gilded Age crap.
It's like Versailles.
Right? Like all those like the Vanderbilts and stuff, all those like Newport mansions that are just insane manners where they imported all this crazy stuff from Europe. That's what he's trying to replicate here. We're in like the pre-1930s tariff thing. The wealth concentration is very much like that. Ugh. It's also he just has horrible taste. That's also the part of the problem.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours.
Might as well jump. Go ahead and jump. The ballroom price will be covered by rich folks doing more public bribes. True. Someone wasn't keeping watch on Grandpa. He got up on the roof. Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's completely normal. Also, Mr. President, what are you doing on the roof? I can't believe that was an actual exchange. There are stories about 1880s and 1890 balls in New York City. I think the whole documentaries have been devoted to single ones of them. Seth Meyers covered Lit last night, I think. Gotcha. All right, folks. I'm just me. Welcome. I think trying to throw a Gilded Age ball in a ballroom in the midst of cornfields or whatever is not really the same effect. So remember how we talked about how the Texas Republicans are trying to essentially intimidate and threaten Democratic lawmakers who fled Texas to try to stop this redistricting. Some have fled to Illinois, and apparently there was a bomb threat. Of course, it was a fake bomb threat, but nonetheless, I mean, this obviously could have only came from one side. Let's be so for real. They knew that the Democratic lawmakers were staying there, and they did this on purpose. Democratic state legislators from Texas were evacuated from their suburban Chicago hotel on Wednesday following a threat at the property, and a news conference set to feature Democratic Senator Dick Durbin was canceled. Later in the morning, Governor Pritzker authorized Illinois State Police to become involved in protecting the lawmakers. I'm aware of reports and threats were made against Texas elected officials in our state. Threats of violence will be investigated and those responsible will be held accountable. I have instructed state police to ensure we maintain public safety. There were 2 Democratic state lawmakers killed outright in Wisconsin or something, wasn't there? Was that recent? Oh wait, yeah, but this is a different story. Yes, I remember what you're talking about. Durbin was to join the Illinois Democratic Voices who have rallied behind the Texas Democrats. Whoop, come back. Who traveled to the state in an effort to block the passage of a new Republican-drawn congressional map. Because the members are absent, the Texas State House does not have a quorum to move forward with the legislation. Yes, in the past few weeks. Yes, it was relatively relatively recent. Yes, I believe we covered it too. The public announcement system inside the hotel issued an evacuation directive around 7:15 local time, a.m., and lawmakers and staff rushed outside, according to to one of the people inside. This morning, a threat was made against the safety of the members of the Texas House Democratic Caucus. 3 state House Democrats said in a statement, "We are safe, we're secure, and we're undeterred and unintimidated. We are grateful for Governor Pritzker, local and state law enforcement for their quick action to ensure our safety." It's not a different story. Republicans killing Dem state level lawmakers. Yeah, but I mean like a different incident is what I meant. Gotcha. I wish I could show this, but I'm pretty sure if I show the Late Show, like it'll immediately get clapped. That's funny. I mean, seriously, the guy's lost his mind. As Ladybug said, Grandpa was let out without supervision. In an interview with NBC News, State Representative John, is it Bucky? I don't even know. Bucky said the legislators and other guests spent about 2 hours outside the hotel on Wednesday and said they're going to continue this fight for voting rights. About 400 people in all were evacuated, according to the St. Charles Police Department. The Kane County Bomb Squad was asked to assist, and police said no device was found during the search. The investigation continues, according to police. The Democratic legislatures left Texas for Chicago, Boston, and Albany, New York on Sunday after the Texas state legislature began a special session aimed at, among other things, drawing new congressional maps, giving Republicans a path to a 5-seat gain in the 2026 midterms. So yes, I mean, this is the continuation and further proof of the violent of the political violence in this country. Heat, how's it going? We will definitely be keeping an eye out on that for sure. You can avoid getting clapped during a live when showing things by like Jubilee by adding a animation overlay to the very bottom of the video like a GIF. Nothing crazy as I've seen it several times. Huh. Not sure how that works. I know James showed the Daily Show on the stream, but yeah, Trump has lost it. Yeah, I mean, like I think what Soul Life is saying, you can just kind of get away with it by putting some kind of animation on it. Cops are Republicans, they'll never investigate anything. Well, I mean, they caught the guy, didn't they, from the other incident? Plus, whether they like it or not, it's the local officials have, you know, the DAs and that. Those are the ones who manage all that. I'm done with this timeline. Oh, I've been done with this timeline for a few years now. I've been wanting off this ride that I did not sign up for quite a minute. Quite a minute at this point. So all this to say, I feel that. So to kind of piggyback off this whole fiasco, California Democrats look to redraw House map to counter Texas GOP. Never heard anything about that happening with the Wisconsin lawmakers who were killed by goons in level 4 body armor or whatever. I thought they were caught, weren't they? I could be wrong. Oh no, I'm thinking of a God. We've had so many incidents that I'm actually thinking about a totally different incident. I'm thinking about a completely different incident. I was thinking about the one that happened in Minnesota. Oh, five. And that guy was caught and named. Like, we know who that guy was. But it's hard to keep up because there have been several misremembering. I was not thinking about the Wisconsin incident. I was thinking about the Minnesota incident that happened not a couple weeks ago, but a couple months ago. Completely different. Completely different incident. And that guy was caught. That guy was caught. I guess the only thing, as far as I was reading quickly here, was that he did mention he had a targeted list of other lawmakers, and some of them were Wisconsin lawmakers. But I think we're talking about a different incident, because unfortunately, as we were illustrating, unfortunately, this is examples of another example of the level of political violence that we are witnessing in this country. And these incidents seem to be occurring more and more often. I hear more about the AFD and Martin Sellner. Oof. Democrats in California moved this week to counter redistricting efforts by Texas Republicans with discussions of a new political map of their own drawn to help Democrats win as many as 5 of the state's Republican House seats next year. Now, I think they should do it. Now, I think that they should do even more. I think that instead, to show and illustrate the point, I think that the California map should be as gerrymandered as possible. Simply because, like, again, they're not, we're not talking about what's fair. Like, oh, well, they're going to gerrymander 5, we're going to do 5. Nah, do 10. Do 15 seats if you can. In fact, every blue state that has the legislature and the governorship should aim for 5 seats each. After all, if they really wanted to play that game, the Democratic Party has more of an advantage. The dude in Minnesota was dressed as a cop with a creepy old man mask. Yes, that's him. I don't know for sure it was Wisconsin. I could be thinking about the one in Minnesota. Not that I can be sure, because there are so many. Yeah, I mean, there's been several incidents, so I'm not 100% sure. I may have been thinking the same, or we may be thinking of the same incident. It's hard to keep track, to be honest. But yeah, at least in that instance, I know for a fact that at least that guy was caught. The plan seemed far-fetched a few weeks ago, but has been gaining momentum as a redistricting war that began in Texas threatens to spread across the country. California's Democratic members of Congress and the state legislature have been briefed in recent days. State lawmakers are planning to vote on the proposed week of August 18th, and Governor Newsom said he hopes to put a new map before voters in a special election on November 4th. If Republicans are going to play this game, California can fight and push back harder. But we want as many, though. We're not going to allow national congressional Republicans and Donald Trump to rig and gerrymander the map across the country and just sit by and do nothing. Unfortunately, our honesty has left us somewhat behind, though many blue states have set up laws to stop gerrymandering. Yeah, I think that's what this whole thing is set to address, right? In California, we have 52 House members, 43 Dem, and 9 are Republican. Yeah, it should be 52 Dems. Okay, I'm never leaving this house. I'm never leaving the house. Yeah, I hear that. I barely leave the house myself. I think there's a metal band called Avenged Sevenfold. Yep. or something on that order. The music isn't too interesting to me, but the name sounds like a good principle to apply to these sort of issues. Yeah, we have a lot of Republicans in California, more than one of the South. More than all in the South. Gotcha. It's unfair to everyone, but they don't play by the rules, so I'm glad they're getting pushback. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's pretty much like fighting fire with fire, but you kind of have to do that in this case, right? The action in California is the clearest sign yet that an effort pushed by President Trump to bolster Republican chances of retaining control of the House could grow into a national fight stretching from coast to coast. The implications are stark, narrowing the number of swing House districts, empowering the ideological wings of both parties, and reversing movements to take redistricting out of the hands of politicians and give it to nonpartisan commissions. Which, incidentally, by the way, was a thing that Democrats actually proposed, but Republicans didn't want to do that. But partisanship is boiling over in Texas and scalding other states. On Tuesday, the state's senior senator, John Cornyn, asked the FBI to help locate and arrest dozens of Democratic state lawmakers who left Texas to block the legislature from voting on the Republican redistricting plan. Asked if the FBI should get involved, Mr. Trump told reporters they may have to, which, no. No, that's not a thing. Their EP has some good stuff, but they went mainstream real quick. I've listened to a couple of their songs. I admit, not many. The potential use of federal agents to round up Texas lawmakers who have sought refuge in New York, Illinois, and Massachusetts would set up a clash between the Democratic governors of those states and the Trump administration. Defiant Democrats say they would not back down, and national party leaders are looking to Illinois, New York, and Maryland to redraw their House maps as well. If they're going to cheat, then all of us have to take a hard look at what effect that cheating is on democracy. That means we all have to stand up and do the right thing, so as far as I'm concerned, everything is on the table. Which, yeah, I mean, it really has to be like this. There are knockoffs, yeah. All my band members are huge fans, so I heard a lot. Oh, I just saw like a follow, but a follow noise, but I don't see an alert or a username, so I don't know what's going on with that. But if someone pressed the follow button, thank you, and I appreciate that. If I thought there was a chance worth betting on these things getting anywhere, I wouldn't be in the midst of immigration to Germany, which has the notable advantage that Nazism is illegal. I don't blame you. In truth, Republicans have more cards to play in an all-out redistricting war in 2026 than Democrats do. Republican leaders are looking to redraw maps in Missouri, Indiana, and Ohio, as well as Texas, and perhaps in more states as well. Vice President J.D. Vance plans to visit Indiana to discuss the push on Thursday, the state's Republican Governor Mike Braun told reporters on Tuesday. So, I mean, yeah, this is a problem. This is a problem, and this is why gerrymandering should have been illegal completely. In the meantime, House maps and redistricting laws in Democratic states present significant hurdles. I believe somebody in chat pointed this out. Illinois, for instance, is already so skewed to Democrats that flipping even one of these 3 Republican seats would be extremely difficult for map makers. Governor Kathy Hochul of New York warned on Monday that restrictions on redistricting in the state would most likely mean new maps could not be adopted until 2027. Dave Turner, a spokesperson for Governor Wes Moore of Maryland, said this week that Mr. Moore, a Democrat, would continue to evaluate all options as states around the country make decisions regarding redistricting. Only one district in Maryland remains in Republican hands. Still, California could be a significant counter to Republican moves. While maps are still not finalized, one plan that was presented to congressional delegation this week would wipe away as many as 5 of the 9 House Republicans from California. The affected Republicans would include Representative Kevin Kiley, Ken Calvert, David Valdado, Daryl Issa, and three people familiar with the plans said. Republican voters could also be drained from Northern California seat held by Representative Doug LaMaffa, a Republican, to put it in play. In some ways, it is possible that the Democrats could be going even further. While Texas was trying to redraw up 5 new Republican seats, the ambitions in California include not just creating the same number of new Democratic seats, but also shoring up as many as half dozen incumbent Democrats in the states who are potential battleground districts. One possible map would power Representative Young Kim's Orange County District, now a Republican-leaning seat, with more Republican voters from Southern California to bolster neighboring swing districts with more Democrats. But enacting a new map in California would be complicated. Unlike in Texas, where politicians control the process, California's congressional districts have been set by an independent commission that is not allowed to consider partisanship in drawing the lines. Mr. Newsom has proposed putting that system on hold for the next 3 elections to help Democrats counter the Republican plan. I mean, like, yeah, right? Like, if rules don't matter and democracy is at stake, you kind of have to do what you got to do. Vidingale rating with a party of 9. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, and welcome, folks. Folks, if you're just walking in, I am A Difficult Truth. I do the news, I do the politics. We're here Monday, Wednesday, and Thursdays around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch my show on this space at 5 p.m. at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesdays. You can catch that on YouTube. Waxing Philosophical rating in with a party of 2. Welcome, everybody. Look at that. Don James, welcome. Tails and Wings. Matt United, thank you for the follow. Vidingale, thank you so much for bringing a wonderful community. Thank you, appreciate that. GZ Baku, thank you for the follow, appreciate that. Thank you for the follow, Stephanie is a girl, appreciate that. Saris, hey, welcome. A lot of goth bands who are basically sort of weird kind of Christian rock. Ministry. Actually, I know Ministry. I've listened to them. Machines of Loving Grace, Faith and Muse. Yeah, double raid. Look at that. Back to back to back raids. Appreciate that. Folks, please go show some support to twitch.tv/Vidingale and twitch.tv/waxing_philosophical. Go show some love, folks. Democracy isn't really at stake, though. There's never been anything but the vilest plutocracy in the U.S. and never the slightest hint of democracy. Well, I mean, you know, what I'm talking about is whatever semblance of that happens to exist in the sense of how representative democracy works is all kind of is all but going away. Is that another raid? Soul Life, welcome. Less cruel plutocrats is all on the offer from the Democrats, perhaps more by a dint of etiquette than materially substantive policy. Oh, I don't disagree. Soul Life streams? That's a good question. Fighting Gale was a part of the mods that protested and left TYT. Oh. Nice. Ministry turned into a metal band but started as a goth band. Makes sense. I just wanted to be included in the raid train. That's funny. Appreciate that. Industrial metal or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it does kind of feel like it's all that genre does kind of feel very, very similar, you know. Mr. Newsom has proposed putting that system on hold for the next 3 elections to help Democrats counter the Republican plan. He wants California plan to contain a provision saying that it goes into effect only if Texas approves the new maps mid-decade. It's triggered on the basis of what occurs or doesn't occur in Texas. I hope they do the right thing, and if they do the right thing, then there'll be no cause for us to move forward. The plan is coming together swiftly because California lawmakers will need to vote on it before it can go on the ballot. Mr. Newsom said he wants the maps to be complete before voters weigh in. Legislatures in Sacramento must act by August 22nd to get the plan on the November ballot, according to the California Secretary of State's office. The Service Employees International Union in California, a powerful player in state politics, announced its support for the Democrats' plan on Tuesday, but groups that support California's switch to an independent redistricting system have begun organizing opposition to potential ballot measures, setting up an expensive and feisty off-year election. Arnold Schwarzenegger championed the independent redistricting system when he was governor and championed the similar systems in other states. He signaled recently that he was not happy California would consider a return to partisan gerrymandering and was preparing to fight back if necessary. Yeah, but like the problem here is that if you don't, it's this consistent fighting with one hand kind of deal. This is nonsense. Every Day is Halloween and Revenge were probably the 2 big hits before they got into metal. Hey, thank you, Fighting Gale. Appreciate that. Cross-platform solidarity indeed. Al Jorgensen is a singer. He was a leftist, also a drug recoverer. Gotcha. I should raid next, but no. His thing is gerrymandering is evil everywhere, said Daniel Ketcher, who is the governor, chief of staff. No matter where it's done, he opposes it and wants the people to be in charge, not politicians. Okay, but like, that's not what's happening, right? Like this not what's happening, because that's one side is saying like, no, we're gonna do this, very openly and brazenly. So yeah, it kind of, you know, we're past that. We're kind of past that at this point. Mr. Calvert, one of the Republicans targeted, said in a statement that he opposes the scheme being orchestrated behind closed doors by Sacramento politicians to take constitutionally afforded power away from independent citizens redistricting commission. Well, maybe you should. Maybe you should perhaps talk to your Republican colleagues in Texas. Another threatened Republican, Mr. Kiley, has introduced federal legislation to forbid the type of mid-decade redistricting that Republicans are pushing in Texas and that threatens his seat in California. Redistricting is supposed to be done once a decade, he said in an interview, adding that his bill would stop that sort of arms race or redistricting war from cascading across the country. Or maybe it shouldn't be allowed at all, and put a stop to it. completely. But Democrats who approved the independent commission may now be in a fighting mood. Representative Laura Friedman, a Democrat from the Los Angeles area, said she received overwhelmingly positive feedback from constituents when she has mentioned the possibility of mid-decade redistricting at recent events in her district. People are saying things like, finally, the Democrats are fighting back. You cannot wage the fight on your own set of rules when someone else is playing by a different set of rules. Right. Beyond California, Lisa Hernandez, the chairwoman of the Democratic Party of Illinois, said Democrats in the state were ready. If this is the way they're going to violate what is so precious to our country, our freedom and our rights, we have to fight. The practical and political reality in Illinois is more complicated than that. Illinois is already one of the more heavily gerrymandered states in the country, and in 2021, Democrats redrew congressional maps to eliminate 2 Republican seats. Democrats now hold 14 of Illinois' 17 seats. Well, I mean, it sounds like there's more seats to take. Ryan Tolley, executive director of Change Illinois, a nonpartisan group that advocates for fair elections, said that procedural issues would slow down a push to make a new map since candidates have already begun collecting petition signatures to appear on the March 17th primary ballot. Mr. Pritzker would also have to call a special session of the legislature. In Texas, the partisanship grew only more bitter. On Tuesday, in a letter to the FBI director, Kash Patel, Mr. Cornyn, a Republican, said federal resources are necessary to locate the out-of-state legislators or potentially acting in violation of the law. This is not how that works. The agency declined to comment on whether its agents would get involved. Hours later, the state attorney general, Ken Paxton, said if the absent Democrats did not return by Friday, he would seek a court order declaring their seats vacant. So in other words, he's trying to kick them out of their seats. Legally speaking, he can't do that. There's no pathway for him to do that, really. Gerrymandering is such a shady practice, that's even a legal thing. Seeing the maps they used to segregate people in voting blocks is gross. Yep. The Speaker of the Texas House on Monday issued civil warrants for the arrest of the absent Democrats. Governor Abbott of Texas then directed state police to assist the Texas House in executing those civil warrants, suggesting that lawmakers have violated the state's anti-bribery laws, which, what? What anti-bribery laws? I mean, you're just making stuff up. Representative Gene Wu, a House Democrat and the party's leader in the state House, said Mr. Cornyn was threatening to misuse the FBI in a pathetic attempt to prove his extremist credentials to his party voters. Good luck with that. Later on Tuesday, Governor Abbott filed an emergency petition with the Texas Supreme Court seeking the removal of Mr. Wu from the office. The governor argued that by his absence, Mr. Wu would have forfeited the office of state representative. The action, in addition to one threatened earlier by Mr. Paxton. The office does not belong to Greg Abbott, and it does not belong to me, said Wu. In response, it belongs to the people of the House District 137 who elected me. Mr. Cornyn engaged in a tough fight for re-election next year with Mr. Paxton, a hardline conservative popular with the Republican base. Both candidates are seeking Trump's support. On Monday, Mr. Paxton conceded it would be a challenge for Texas law enforcement to arrest the absent Democrats who had fled their jurisdiction. The accusation by Mr. Abbott of criminal activity this time appeared aimed at increasing the stakes for Democratic state lawmakers who are under the rules of State House are each facing a $500 per day fine if they are not present. So again, this is all just nonsense. This is a bluff, essentially. Trying to intimidate the Democratic lawmakers to come back. That mother effer should be up on charges for putting those death buoys in the water at the border. Yep. 100%. we are going to continue to follow this case from the Supreme Court. I believe we talked about this yesterday. Facing images of violent white mob. All right, folks. Sorry about that. It looks like the. All right, folks. Sorry about that. It looks like the OBS kicked the stream off as well. So I just kind of paused there for a minute. Just wait a couple seconds to get everybody back. Sorry about that, folks. OBS, or I don't know what's going on here, but the stream keeps getting knocked down. But yeah, we'll just give it a second. Very sorry, T. I gotta jet. See y'all tomorrow. No, appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Heat. All right. Appreciate that. It's like we have to wait until Trump is out of power and we get some power before we can prosecute anybody and anybody for war crimes. Oh, yeah, 100%. And to make no mistake, there has to be repercussions after all this is said and done. Apparently, breaking quorum is protected in the Texas Constitution. When Jasmine Crockett was in the Texas legislature, they also fled the state to stop Republican effery. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But this time I think they're a little bit more, well, they're more resourced, I think, this time. If I remember correctly, didn't they have to come back because they couldn't, they didn't have any more funds to stay? Tropical Ding Dong. Sometimes I can only pop in during my lunch break. Hope you don't take it personally. I only take it personally. If we get any power. Yep. All right. Shifting gears. Well, kind of shifting gears, but not really. Facing images of violent white mobs defending racial segregation, the condemnation of the world and its own citizens, Congress in 1965 passed the Voting Rights Act, a law meant to end the hypocrisy of a democratic country that denied black people the power of their vote. 60 years later, the race remains at the center of American politics. Cases before the U.S. Supreme Court and a platoon of Texas legislators fleeing the state to prevent redistricting demonstrates how the Voting Rights Act and its erosion remains on the front line of the political battlefield. Democracy is at stake, said Todd Cox, an associate director counsel for the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, even as voting right advocates use the act to win additional congressional representation in Alabama and press cases in Louisiana and North Carolina. A conservative Supreme Court makes gains precarious. We wouldn't be under such a threat if we weren't doing so well in making sure our communities were engaged, that they were turning out, and their rights are protected. This is a cyclical part of history that when we see when we see some success in advancing rights, there's always backlash. Veterans of a struggle for civil rights view passage of the act as a revolutionary historic demarcation point to equal to the signing of the Declaration of Independence, Confederate General Robert E. Lee's surrender at Appomattox, or the establishment of women's suffrage. Enforcement of the Voting Rights Act fundamentally rewrote politics in America. I know I'll stand on the shoulder of folks who fought and died in some cases. Though the constitutional amendment passed after the American Civil War, ending slavery and commanded racial equality before the law, American lawmakers regularly found ways to keep black citizens from exercising political power. Literacy tests, poll taxes, separate ballot boxes for black and white voters, white-only primary elections, purges of black voters from rolls, and discriminatory districts lined rigged elections for white voters in Jim Crow era. Each time a court struck down a state law or demanded the end of a discriminatory practice, obstructionist local lawmakers, mostly but not exclusively in southern states, would quickly adapt, often enacting new election changes without enough time for a court to intervene. Civil rights law at the time held insufficient authority to stop this practice. Assuming the other side is just going to let you have a turn in power is not a viable plan. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's why you have to take it. Like what California is proposing. Each time, after years of campaigns for voting rights and racial equality across the South, civil rights struggle came to a head in March of 1965 in Selma, Alabama. The death of Jimmy Lee Jackson, a Baptist deacon and local voting rights activist, at the hands of state troopers led 600 people to march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. State troopers attacked demonstrators with truncheons and tear gas. As networks broadcast the assault, the U.S. watched future U.S. Representative John Lewis get beaten into unconsciousness by white police officers live on national television. Support crystallized for civil and voting rights after the events of Bloody Sunday. Congress wrote the Voting Rights Act to prevent the case-by-case whack-a-mole games local lawmakers were playing with election rules. It forced the jurisdictions with a history of discrimination to clear election changes with the Department of Justice before they could go into effect. It banned literacy tests to vote and allowed challenges to district maps when those maps would not allow proportional representation for minority voters. The principle of the Voting Rights Act shaped the way lawmakers from halls of Congress to city council hearing room have to respond to politically to voters of color. Congress has reauthorized the Voting Rights Act 4 times since its enactment, each time under a Republican president, but the law's protections have suffered a death by 1,000 cuts. In the Shelby County versus Holder in 2013, the Supreme Court held that the data defining jurisdictions with a history of discrimination was too old to be relied upon. Congress must update its Voting Rights Act preclearance rules in Section 5 to remain constitutional, the court ruled. Republicans in Congress have blocked legislation, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, updating the law, effectively ending preclearance. It was a pretty significant blow to the project of ensuring voting free of racial discrimination in the country, said Sophia Lynn Lankin, the director of the ACLU's Voting Rights Project. I think it really accelerated in this moment at the attacks on voting access across the country. States previously restricted pre-clearance enacted a wave of election legislation following the ruling, closing polling places, changing voter registration rules, and redrawing districts' lines unhindered. A 5-4 decision in Rocho versus Common Cause in 2019 further eroded the power of the Voting Rights Act by explicitly permitting political gerrymandering, even as racial gerrymandering remained off limits. The mid-decade redistricting in Texas proposed by Donald Trump presents a particularly vivid example of the consequences of an end to pre-clearance and recent Supreme Court decisions. Democratic state representatives have fled the state to deny Republicans a quorum to pass the redistricting legislation, which would likely grant Republicans an additional 5 congressional seats. Michael Hassler, welcome. It's not a cyclical part of history. It's a total departure from the whole recorded history and all discernible prehistory, and was only ever a set of concessions granted under pressure from the USSR. It all comes down to the Supreme Court. Yes, it seems like it. Those maps would have had to be reviewed by the federal government coming in after the fact to challenge them and winning, said Lankin. In 2003, the 8th Circuit Federal Appellate Courts further restricted the use of the Voting Rights Act, ruling in Arkansas State Conference NAACP versus Arkansas Board of Appointment that private groups do not have a right to challenge state election law under the Act. Only the Department of Justice can bring a voting rights case to court. A second Eighth Circuit decision extended the ban on private voting rights suits from redistricting cases to suits challenging restrictions on voter assistance. Of the 180 or so successful claims brought under the Voting Rights Act, only 15 have been brought by the Department of Justice, said Jacqueline De Leon, a senior staff attorney with the Native American Rights Fund. The Department of Justice Voting Rights Division used to have about 30 staff attorneys. Under the Trump administration, it has all but 2 or 3. Yeah, I mean, the goal is this, to redo Jim Crow. We know the Department of Justice is not going to be in the business of enforcing voting rights, said De Leon. Right now, we don't know if will be a future where a Voting Rights Act is available to our country. This is really a moment of concern and reflection on this anniversary. Lakin said she expects the Eighth Circuit ruling to be appealed to the Supreme Court, which is something that we definitely will have to keep an eye on. Meanwhile, a case in Louisiana that has reached the U.S. Supreme Court threatens the last standing leg of the Voting Rights Act. On Friday, the court signaled it will consider the constitutionality of Section 2, asking supplemental briefs in Louisiana versus Calais. The case, to be heard later this year, asks whether the state's creation of a majority-minority congressional district violates the 14th or 15th Amendment of the Constitution. No problem. Thank you, Vidingale. Appreciate that. I think this, unfortunately, another opportunity for the court to continue the attack of this attack this pillar of our democracy, the Voting Rights Act. In Calais, a group of non-African American voters filed a suit against the state of Louisiana, arguing that lawmakers are acting on the order of the federal court drew a congressional district map that unconstitutionally considered race. The Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution and the 15th Amendment guarantee that the right to vote cannot be denied because of race. Says lawmakers of race says that lawmakers cannot consider race predominantly over the other factors when redistricting without a compelling reason. But Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act requires lawmakers to consider race when it's necessary to ensure the voting power of racial minorities has fair representation. I mean, I think that I think that it's pretty clear what the point is, right? Like you want to take that into consideration explicitly to protect minority groups, right? Like that's the whole point. It is pretty unambiguous. Sorry, folks. They want things to be like they were in between 1773 and 1955. Yep. The cases are an effort to create conflict between the Voting Rights Act and the Constitution as a rationale for a conservative court to chip it away. Congress can enact laws to ensure the 14th and 15th Amendments are given life. She said, I think there's an attempt to create tension around this and say there's a disconnect between the Voting Rights Act. But as the Supreme Court has stated, the act is a properly constitutionalized, authorized use of Congress's power. Such a finding would turn hard-fought civil rights law on its head. It would establish a legal basis for white voters to challenge laws meant to protect minority voters from discrimination, which is the point. That's right, Nadia. The SCOTUS is infamous for the Dred Scott and Plessy versus Ferguson decisions. The Warren Court was only ever assembled for the sake of those concessions. It's since regressed to the mean. Yep. So we definitely have to keep an eye out on this case, which is going to be ruled on later this year. From Louisiana. We definitely have to keep an eye out. This is going to be another important case, and if anything, if we've watched anything and can the Supreme Court has been doing, it is a reasonable assessment that they can possibly continue to chip away at the Voting Rights Act. Etchbox, welcome. All right, folks, we got one more story. The judge hears arguments to halt alligator Alcatraz over environmental concerns. So I'm hoping that this does do something. We did talk about the lawsuit that was filed on environmental basis to try to get this concentration camp shut down. I am hoping that it is successful, and it's beginning right now. Known for the eponymous reptiles that inhabit the nearby swamps, the Florida concentration camp, dubbed Alligator Alcatraz, faces the possibility of being shut down over concerns about some of the area's lesser-known inhabitants, the Everglades bats, panthers, and storks. After hearing in federal court Wednesday, environmental groups have so far called 2 witnesses as part of the effort to prove that the facility was built without the federally required impact studies. Attorneys representing Florida officials have argued that the facility was initially funded by, constructed, and managed by the state and is therefore exempt from the National Environmental Policy Act, the main law being used to challenge the facility's compliance. To counter that, the environmental groups called Florida State Representative Anna Eskamani, who testified that she understood that the Department of Homeland Security was the driving force behind this facility, i.e. this concentration camp. We're the good guys. Remember, we make your life suck more. We're the good guys, right? Like, Jesus effing Christ, let us destroy this country. During a guided tour of the facility, the concentration camp last month, Florida Division of Emergency Management Executive Kevin Guthrie allegedly told Eskamani and other lawmakers that Alligator Alcatraz was built at the direct request of the Department of Homeland Security and in compliance with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. DHS made the request for a facility to be established, and this was the product of that facility. They kept asserting to us that they were following all federal and state guidelines, and ICE inspects our facilities. Alligator Alcatraz so far has operated in what immigration advocates described as a concentration camp, judicially created zone, which the facility funded by the federal government but run by the state of Florida, that they allege allows the officials to skirt some legal requirements. Biden was rather instrumental with the whole rollback of the SCOTUS, with his advocacy for Clarence Thomas and other arch conservatives on the court post-work. Yes. Yep. Not wrong. Florida Governor DeSantis had previously argued that the state of Florida is implementing the federal government's immigration policy with the expectation that the state would be fully reimbursed for the cost of the concentration camp, but local and federal officials have so far been unable to tell the federal courts who is actually in charge of the facility, because they know, right? Like, they know that this is wrong. Legally speaking, they know that they just want to keep passing the buck and pretending, like, oh, it's not us. Like, okay, dude. They keep passing the buck. The hearing, at which federal, state, and tribal officials are testifying, comes amid heightened scrutiny of the concentration camp, which was once toured as a one-stop shop to carry out President Trump's mass deportation agenda. Located 50 miles of Miami, in the heart of the Florida Everglades, the concentration camp was quickly constructed over a matter of weeks, utilizing hundreds of tents, trailers, and other temporary facilities to potentially house 3,000 detainees. There's speculation that Gen X would have been even worse than the boomer generation, since Gen X is the first gen that was exposed to lead their entire life. That's a good point. Feely from Germany's video about what Germans think of what's ongoing in the US featured multiple Germans calling it Alligator Auschwitz. I mean, yeah, it's a concentration camp. No doubt about it. 100%. No doubt about it. The facility was built on grounds of the Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport, a sparsely used piece of tarmac owned by Miami-Dade County. Alligator Alcatraz also neighbors land leased to Miccosukee Indian tribe, including villages, a school, traditional hunting areas, and sacred sites. The Miccosukee tribe joined the lawsuit last month, arguing that the facility threatens to damage nearby tribal villages. The environmental groups and the tribe that brought the case allege that the sprawling facility was built without federal or state conducting an environmental impact statement, which is required under the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, so the public and lawmakers can understand the impact of a project. They also argue that the government failed to get public input on this project. The Department of Justice has also argued that the environmental groups cannot prove irreparable harm, and that NEPA does not give a court the power to block the use of the facility. Attorneys representing the Florida officials tried to cast doubt on Escamanic's testimony by arguing that she has publicly opposed the policy, including saying at one point the facility was $500 million anti-immigrant grift. I can definitely see myself saying that on social media, she told courts about the comments. Escamani also testified about the environmental impacts of the facility, which she said was described to her by state officials as an active construction site. Miles of barbed wire, tons of freshly laid asphalt, and hundreds of high-powered lights peppered the facility. Eve Samples, the executive director of nonprofit Friends of the Everglades, which brought the lawsuit, testified before Escamani on Wednesday and argued that the environmental impact has already been felt at the site. The construction of the facility brought increased traffic to the sensitive area, and high-powered lights have made the facility visible at night from miles away. The facility sits next to Big Cypress National Preserve. The Big Cypress area, ecologically sensitive and protected areas that house threatened species, including the Everglades snail kite, Florida panther, wood stork, and the Florida bonnet bat. Jesse Michael Panuccio, a lawyer representing Florida, tried to blunt her testimony by highlighting that the facility was built on a pre-existing airport where hundreds of planes take off and land daily. While Wednesday hearing is limited on environmental issues, including impacts on the nearby Cypress National Preserve, the testimony is expected to shine a light on the operation of the facility and could result in a federal judge ordering the facility to be shut down until the required environmental impact studies are conducted. Immigrant advocates allege that the detainees have endured inhumane conditions, including flooded facilities, spoiled food, and sweltering heat, and they have limited access to their attorneys and effectively housed in a jurisdictional black hole. Right, because it's a concentration camp. Pinocchio, yeah. That's what I'll go with. Multiple of her German respondents also directly compare what's going on to the U.S. The Third Reich. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very parallel. It's very parallel, and but just to keep it here, it's very much us. It's very much our doing. This is American fascism. This is homegrown American fascism. And it's happening here. It's happening here. Environmentalists were begging for the study since before it was complete, when they were playing with the idea of shipping thousands of gators there. Jesus. I'm hoping this is one avenue of getting this concentration camp shut down. But we'll keep track of what happens here. All right, folks, it's time for me to get out of here. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you guys being here. You guys are what makes this channel go. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your follows, your subscriptions, your biddies, your likes, your shares. All of that really does help us out. Thank you for being the real MVPs. I appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. If you want to support the channel directly, there are many different ways of doing so. Check out the merch store, do the !tip, the Substack, join the Discord, folks. There are movie events, and catch my show on this space Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Appreciate it. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Hasser, for modding the chat. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you to Waxing Philosophical and to Viting Nail for the raids and bringing your wonderful communities over here. Thank you all for being here. Thank you. I appreciate that. Ground Level News, appreciate that. It's already happened. Yes. Yes. Essentially. We're watching we're watching it go down live. Tails and Wings, thank you. Moana, appreciate it. Thank you, Ladybug. Thank you, Waxing Philosophical. That's right, this space is your space. Appreciate it, folks. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow will be tentative. We'll see. Most likely there will not be a stream tomorrow, but we'll see. It depends. It depends. If I can manage a short stream, then we'll do that. But I'm thinking that tomorrow's probably not gonna happen. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll make a announcement on Discord. Thank y'all. It's a space for monsters. Well, I guess Dieter McBusiness is a monster content creator, as well as Alex from Devil's Advocate Productions. So tomorrow what's happening is most likely Mrs. Truth is coming in from her flight. So I'm thinking that probably I'm probably thinking that by the time I've got to go, there just won't be time. There just won't be enough time for me to do a stream. So that's what I'm thinking. So unless something changes, okay, that's Kirkenstein's monster. The Hegseth memo. Yep. Appreciate it, Vidingale. So yeah, I'm anticipating that that's probably going to be the case. So I'll just post it on Discord and probably make an announcement on Blue Sky as well. Anyways, thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Once again, folks, you are all the MVPs. You guys are what makes this channel go. I appreciate it. Thank you all. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya. Thank you, Saris. Sisyphean task. Make an announcement on Blue Sky. I will. Behind the Bastards has a show on Hexet's book. That's actually probably a good watch, honestly. I live in Blue Sky. Ah, me too, honestly. I've all but abandoned Twitter, I'll be honest. Alright, folks, hang tight! We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.